Hang in there. That Smylie Kaufman for 61. Wow.
I'm Smylie Kaufman, and this is The Smylie Show.
Welcome back to The Smylie Show. I'm Charlie Hume, fresh off a little Butch Harmon School of Golf experience in Las Vegas. We're going to get to that a little later. I'll tell you what, buddy. Vegas,
You know how many people that would want to say that, like, just to be a part of the Butch Harmon School of Golf? I mean, that's like a flex right off the get-go.
I mean, if you've done it, you got to flex it. I mean, I'll go ahead and flex on your behalf because we have a Hero World Challenge Pro-Am participant over here on the other side of things. Smylie Kaufman.
Humble brag. Yep.
Rousing reception for you on the first tee there. That we saw in a video that was sent over and posted on our socials.
2 or 3 people really got into it. That was fun.
Those 2 or 3 were loud. They were getting after it. Run us through that briefly before we dig into the Hero.
Oh gosh, I mean, had a good Pro-Am group, and right from the get-go, they set the tone on the range. Like, they were going to definitely be the drinking Pro-Am group. So I was like, great, I got the good group of guys. You know, like, they're not going to care too much about winning this thing.
Do people often drink in Pro-Am groups? I just assume that people wouldn't if it's a tournament.
You know what? Like, I've always felt like they don't put enough beer out there for, like, I don't think the PGA Tour wants that. And
right.
There was like a place to get alcohol. Like, there was a little bar like in the middle of the golf course. But every cooler has like water and like Coke products. I'm like, why don't they just have these things stacked with like Coors Light? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mick Ultra's a big tour sponsor. You give them a light enough beer to where they're not going to, get a little too loose.
Exactly.
But just something to kind of lube the swing up a little bit.
Or if you had a production meeting later that day and you needed to like be, have to talk to everybody that
hypothetically speaking. Yeah.
If you needed some swing oil to try to get your nerves in check and play in 40-mile-an-hour crosswinds, it may have helped.
If you happen to be working the broadcast and if you happen to have an on and off case of the high Oz, hypothetically,
it is
might
so
help.
On and off. It is so on and off. You wouldn't believe how quickly it comes and goes.
Was it? You said that there was they flared up a little bit in the Pro-Am. Like what? Like how severe were they?
Yeah. It was.
Okay.
It was early, I think the first like 3 holes were left to right winds, 30 miles an hour. Just was never going to get off to a hot start with that situation. So
yes.
I'm getting a fitting on Wednesday. Kind of thinking, the whole Indian versus arrow type of deal.
Sure.
Is it you or the clubs you're holding? I would like to eliminate just the Y loft, like shaft combo, make sure I'm hitting it in the center of the face. I want to eliminate all of those factors to where it's just me that I have to worry about.
Well, I'm excited for you there. I'll say this on my end. Your boy's striping it a little bit. In fact, Butch may or may not have said, and if my family members are listening to this, just don't listen to the next like 15 seconds podcast. May have said, I have the best swing in the family. Might have been.
There's no doubt that you do. It's just, you have the worst follow through in the family as well. So like you have the best swing, but there's everybody, like even like Walker, your son, already has a better follow through than you.
He does, as does my wife. Amanda was striping.
She does.
As well.
You sent me a swing of hers the other day.
She was, so I got to give a shout out to Matt Kilgariff. Worked with her extensively. He's one of the guys out there. He strengthened my grip a little bit, strengthened her grip a little bit. We're getting some nice tight draws on target.
Left or right hand.
So left hand's stronger, right hand's neutral. And I think it's helping a little bit with sort of the angled attack. You know how I kind of come over the top a little bit and I take those kind of swipey divots, and now coming a little bit more inside and hitting a tight little draw there. Butch has my right elbow a little bit more tucked at address so that we're not, kind of popped out and then, promoting that kind of over the top move. So there's some good tape. Put some good tape together here. I'm excited. I'm about to go down and see the family in South Florida for a few weeks.
You know,
the golf course, out the cold.
You know how many people are listening around and they're just shaking their head that Charlie just got a lesson from Butch Harmon? It's just like what?
Well, and I got to say too, I mean, the coolest part, I mean, I hit so many less golf balls than I thought I was going to hit. I mean, two children, and Walker was, I love the boy to death, but he is a maniac and he requires attention at all times. But the moments I did get to hit balls, I was happy about. But really, it was the coolest thing ever because this is Butch Harmon's last school of golf that he's doing out at Rio Seco in Las Vegas. It's a 27-year run, started back in 97. And he did not know that our family was the last school. So my granddad, Sam Reeves, was the best man at Butch's wedding. And Butch walked in on our first day of the school.
Realize that.
Yeah, they're good buddies going back a number of years. And he walked in. It was a big surprise. His wife Christy was there to surprise them, and son Cole it was super, super cool.
Oh, cool.
And just to see the
awesome.
relationship they had. So it was fun to kind of shut it down with a 4-generation golf school. Has to be
How's
the
Sambo?
first. Dude, 90 years old, still out there hitting it, still grinding. I mean, he hit probably 4 times more golf balls than I hit this weekend.
I can't wait to play 3 holes of 18 holes with Sam soon.
That's kind of
He'll hit the opening
program.
tee shot, go in the car, get on the phone, see it maybe at 9, maybe play putt on 18 and call it a day.
That's come see us down in South Florida when we're down there. I'm sure we can arrange for that. Get out down in MacArthur or something like that.
Yeah, I'm playing Floridian this weekend, pro member.
Right.
So I was really in a bad spot last year when I played that event because it was like 40-mile-an-hour winds again. It's just these crosswinds are going to kill me. I need to find golf balls that just duck hook.
Yeah, that would be like if that was part of the new golf ball rollback. If it was a roll left, that would help both of us. In a big way.
They keep on trying to make these adjustable face drivers, the twist face or whatever. All these things to correct the golf ball. Why don't we just make the golf ball, not balance? Like it's like you set it up instead of just like a normal round golf ball. It tells you, it's like, all right, you have the high yaws to the right. Here is the heel hit to where it's just going to autocorrect in the air.
I think what we're looking for is we need a golf ball with a cover that sets it up so we have a mud ball on the right side every time. Every time we
if it's that, either that or my golf ball is going to look like a pear.
One of the two. I know there got to be some OEM people out there listening. Just workshop it. Come back to us. We'd love to have you on the show to develop the product. But I mean that a lot of fun golf that we played this week. But we got to get to the big tour golf. We got to get to. I texted you after this thing wrapped up. Scottie Scheffler won again, 9th time in 2024, and just said this guy's inevitable. And we've said it a zillion times on the show, and you just texted back one word: inevitable. And so before we kind of get to this, you were in the booth all weekend long down there in the Bahamas for the Hero World Challenge. Sat with Tiger Woods. It's something I want to talk to you about as well. But let me hit you with just some stats and notes on Scottie Scheffler to kind of tee up this conversation. So the first one comes via Shane Bacon, looking at Scottie's final round scoring this season, including the Hero. 62 in the final round of the Olympics wins. 63 at the Hero wins. 64 at the Players wins. 15 of his 20 final rounds in the 60s. 10 of his 20 final rounds sub 66 or better. Another stat for you. Scottie earned, this is via Cameron Jordan at Golf Week, he earned $55.2 million in change this season, meaning Ted Scott earned roughly $5.3 million. He'd rank in the top 20 on the PGA Tour this season if he was a player, ahead of Austin Eckroat, Victor Hovland, Tom Kim, among others. Dylan DeChair, great one. Scottie Scheffler has as many wins since February 1st as the Washington Wizards. The Wizards have won 9 times in 57 games. Scottie's won 9 times in 18 starts.
Oh gosh!
Wow. And then I know we've talked about in the past for this event, strokes gained, a little skewed in a field of 20. But just 2 things that I want to talk about to tee this up and want to let you rip on this. He gained 7.5 strokes in his strokes gained total in his final round when he shoots 63. And for the week, third in the field in strokes gained putting. With that new claw grip, gained almost a stroke. So just all that laid out there for you. Just summarize Scottie's week, and then if we want to kind of get into the weeds, another subtle change with the putting that passed the eye test, passed the stat test, and somehow makes him even more unbeatable on tour.
Yeah, no, that's all well said. So many points that you mentioned that I definitely want to elaborate on a little bit more. But I think let's start at the beginning of the week at the Hero, because I played the Wednesday Pro-Am and it was fun for me too, right? So I'm on the range with Scottie. He's at 8 a.m. on 1. I'm on 8 a.m. at 10. So I saw him in the locker room before, throwing on the shoes. And of course, I think it was either Teddy or Scott, Teddy or Scottie, that said to me, he's like, hey, when they start letting media in the locker room. And it's just one of those like, God, like that one hurt, like that was
elite trash talkers,
like he already knew, or most guys know, like I feel out of place, like a fish out of water. Like it's so weird because, I played so many PGA Tour events, but when it's been that long, you just feel awkward. You don't know what to do with your hands type of situation, but things got better because after that, when did they let media guys in the locker room? Then I see Scottie like has something on his neck, and I'm like, what is that? And I'm like, Band-Aid? He's like, no. And I'm like, that's definitely a Band-Aid. And he's like, oh gosh, it's his Band-Aid on. And he takes it off, and it's a Peppa the Pig Band-Aid on his neck that he had been wearing all day, that he forgot it was on his neck. And Teddy looked at me. He's like, God, man, we were going to let that go as long as we could. I guess everybody was in on it. He's got this Peppa the Pig Band-Aid. He's had breakfast with so many guys that morning and nobody said a word. Okay. And then here comes Mr. Media in there. And so I feel like when we walked out of that locker room, we were even.
So tell me this, was this a we only had Band-Aids for Bennett and we happened to just use the
only one they had. I think it was the only Band-Aids they had.
or this is like, because Bennett's obviously still young. Sometimes you let your kids, if you're a girl dad, you let your daughter paint her fingernails. This wasn't Bennett's a little project here where he was sticking Band-Aids.
I think it's
Scottie.
the only ones they had. He cut himself shaving is the story I heard. And yeah,
that's so good. That is so good.
We're even on that front. And so I guess I never putt before rounds, which is probably why I didn't notice the saw grip, is I'm just ripping drivers trying to find something before the round. And so we finish, go to the production meeting, blah, blah, blah. Next day comes around. We go into rehearsals, and we're going to catch Scottie on like the 6th or 7th hole that day. And I hear somebody say in our ears, like during rehearsals, like, Scottie's got a new putting grip. And I was like, what? Like, no, he didn't change anything. And I just could not believe, like, I didn't pick up on this at the beginning of the week. Like, I was there at the Pro-Am, didn't see that he changed to the saw. And so now I'm like, as an analyst, I'm kind of freaking out of like, I haven't seen it yet. The first time I'm going to see it is when it comes up live on TV. And so I was just preparing myself of, okay, this guy might have 42 putts today and play terribly, or he could make everything. So, you just try to figure out at that point, do your homework of kind of why, why would you make the change? Because I think we all agreed that the putting was good over the last part of the year. Was it great? No, but was it good? Yes. Much improved from the beginning of the year. Even when you go to the Hero Championship last year, where he was using that Olsen blade putter, I still remember even that week, like the stroke, yes, he was making putts. It still didn't look that comfortable to him. And you saw to me at times, his hands through the ball looked a little like shaky in my mind too. Like just didn't look overly confident, but still didn't matter. He struck it so well. But when I looked at the stats and saw like exactly why, he makes the change, it was like 157th, I believe, was the stat from like 3 to 5 feet. Now, everything outside of that was probably more on the manageable side. It's like inside of 10 feet, like he's average, but outside of 30 feet, he's really good. So what we saw in the first couple of days was him like mixing up his grips. So long putts, he's got the conventional, then he goes to the claw inside of 10 feet. And the stroke and the path looked really good, and how the ball was rolling into the hole was not like changing speeds inside of 10 feet. So like he had a really, good sense of the tempo of the stroke and like how far he needed to take it back. Not that the number one player in the world doesn't know how far to take back a 10 footer, an 8 footer, a 6 footer, but to be able to do it in competition, it's a big deal, because I can attest to not only myself, but other players, when they change things, a lot of times it takes, a couple rounds, couple tournaments, a month to get used to a new putting grip. And I'll say that he looked pretty damn comfortable right from the get-go. He was making all the putts. Like, you kind of figured he might miss a couple ones early. He didn't. And the stat that I wanted to kind of go a little bit more in depth on, he said third in putting. What I saw was inside of 10 feet, which is the reason after the round when we asked him, he's like, what's the reason for it? He said, I just want to get a little bit better inside of 10 feet. He was 63 of 65 inside of 10 feet this week. So
wow.
I think what Tiger Woods said was, he said this last year, I believe. I don't know where exactly it was, but he described Scottie Scheffler in this. He said, if Scottie Scheffler putts bad, he's going to be right there around it. Like, he's going to have a good week. He's may not win, but he's going to be around it. If he putts decent, he wins. He putts well, he blows away fields. And that's what we saw this week at the Hero.
Yeah, I mean, if the break even, I think the break even rate on tour is right around 8 feet. So if you're making, as he did this week, 97% of your putts,
you mean break even? You're saying like 50-50?
50-50 is 8
just
feet
making
on
sure
tour.
that.
Yes. Sorry, I should have clarified that. That is, I believe that inside of 8 feet, right at 8 feet is right about where 50% of putts are made on tour. So if he's making 97% of his putts inside 10 feet, I mean, good luck to everybody else. And then especially even like on Sunday, and you were talking about this in the booth where it was, I believe, a 3-shot lead at the time on the 16th hole. And they're talking about, whether or not he's going to try to carry a fairway bunker, and he hits a ball 260 yards off the tee.
I was looking at my yardage book. I was like,
yeah,
he just airballed that.
Wait a second. Almost with the thing.
Yeah.
And JT hits a fairway, and you're thinking, okay, if he makes bogey here, JT makes birdie, all of a sudden it's a 1-shot lead with 2 holes left to play. All he does is hit like a perfect shot out of the sand or wherever that kind of that whatever that native sort of area is, or the whatever the
sandy
kind of
area,
sandy area, whatever.
For the most part, like a lot of areas, it's like playing off of a cart path.
Hits it to what 10, 12 feet, makes birdie. And
I can't even describe to you how good that shot was.
Unbelievable. The contact, I mean, just everything out of that area. It's just, so when you're combining that ball striking with, to your point, a huge uptick in the putting and the progression of that, it's just so wild. I mean, the Olsen blade you referred to. I mean, TaylorMade went out and acquired Olsen putters just on the hope that they found something with Scottie Scheffler. And I, of course, am not a tour pro. I am a tinkerer. Sometimes it's just looking at something different gives you a little bit of confidence. So when he goes to that 35.5 inch, that TaylorMade Spider Tour X with the L neck, all of a sudden he starts putting a little better. He's looking at something different. But now to find a grip that, to your point, makes him feel confident and rolling it online with good pace inside 10 feet.
Stroke looked good, man.
It could be a bloodbath this next year.
It very well could. And that, you wanted to talk a little bit about Tiger Woods being in the booth, and
yes.
My takeaways from what he said about Scottie, it's not earth shattering. It's nothing we haven't heard before, but I think one of the things that stuck with me was just how he described Scottie's ball striking. He said, well, he hits the center of the face. And when you do that, you're able to hit it high. You're able to hit it low. You can curve it both ways. And I just am just blown away when I'm looking at the monitor and I'm watching Scottie every time with a driver, whatever the shot is, it just comes out the exact same window every single time. And it's the same in person, same watching on a monitor. He hardly makes mistakes. And that's what Tiger was saying. It was that, when you have a player that, doesn't have a weakness in his game and is not going to give it away, he's going to have a chance to win a lot of golf tournaments. And I thought one of the things this week that he was really good at, that actually something that's interesting is in a putting stat, was his approach putt performance was first. So like basically lag putting, how close you got it to the hole on your approach putt. He was first in that category. And that was putting with his conventional grip. And I was watching him on the putting green before the round. And this is interesting for a lot of people that are trying to get better at lag putting. This is a great drill because I didn't know he did this. But he'll have a 40-footer and he looks at the hole like he always would, looks down, strokes the putt, and instead of looking up to see, where the ball is, he waits until the ball finishes rolling. So he strokes the putt and he's just staring at the ground. And then maybe he's guessing in his mind, is it long? Is it short? Where is this ball going to end up? And then eventually when the ball stops rolling or close, you can't be perfect when it stops or starts rolling, but somewhere around the end of the putt, he looks up, sees where it is. And then his mind, he's calibrating basically the speed of the greens that day.
And this is, you're talking about just on the practice screen, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. Interesting. Yeah. Because obviously he's on the course. He's going to want to take a look at what the putt's doing at the end of the putt and see if it's going back.
Yeah, totally.
That is so interesting. I mean, and he's a guy that he's talked about before being in love with the process of the game of golf, which I think is so cool. And even little things like every range session he begins with that grip trainer because he's just so focused on getting the details of the grip right.
I felt it this week. I got to hold it and it felt like I was holding a trophy. Yeah. Like this thing is what I looked at it and even in my head, I'm thinking, it could work for Scottie Scheffler, but it ain't going to work for this guy. Like I was thinking, good for you for having a protocol, but I think I like just the chaos.
Yes. I mean, listen, it certainly makes it more fun that way. Chaos guys, show and go guys. We kind of live on the seat of our pants. It's a much more fun way to play golf. But I think it's just, there's a lot that's been said. And we've seen more of the fun side of Scottie Scheffler in the last few months, maybe this past year, especially after the whole PGA Championship thing and the memes that came out of that. But at his core, it's a guy that just loves the process of doing all the little things right, and then it adds up to greatness, and that's where we are. On the topic of Tiger, it's the topic du jour right now on the internet. We had a Fuego take from Ben On that a lot of people are debating. The original tweet he put out said, "I don't care what anyone says, Scottie this season was as good as one of Tiger's best seasons on tour." There's been some debate about the phrasing there and this and that. I just curious to see or hear your reactions on that. And I know in the past we've said he's playing Tiger-esque golf. The ball striking is close to Tiger Woods' prime level. He has to put together a lot of seasons in a row to reach Tiger's levels, but we're starting to see what looks like Tiger level of dominance.
100%. I mean, this is a comparable year, maybe not to some of Tiger's best, but it's hard not to play the comparison game when you have a year like Scottie just had. But I just look at what's ahead, right? I think even last year, if you've tuned into this podcast since the beginning, I've been on Scottie Scheffler for a very long time, and not that anybody wasn't, but it's this guy. It's just like keep buying stock and keep investing in him because not only does he have the talent, he's got the work ethic, but what I keep coming to realize is that his mental game and competitive edge is as good as Tiger. He does it in a different way. It looks different, like that intent level of focus. It's not the Jason Day style of focus that you kind of saw with Tiger, how he would just stalk putts. Scottie just does it by, just being really good at every single part of his game, whether it's his routine, knowing exactly how to hit a shot. He never takes a shot off. And it's so hard to do that in this game. It's so easy to look ahead. It's so easy for a thought to come into your brain and say, don't hit it over there. Or, oh gosh, what happens if I hit this shot here and don't win this golf tournament? That is what 99.9% of players on the PGA Tour are dealing with in professional athletes. And that's what separates great from elite. And that's kind of what we're talking about with Scottie right now, right?
Yeah, I believe it was JT in one of his press availabilities this week that was talking about Scottie's greatness and also talking about Tiger, and just said something along the lines of Tiger's approach, which was, every shot you hit has to be the most important shot of your life. You have to apply that sort of focus and competition. Hard to do. And nobody makes it to this level of golf without being insanely competitive. But I just love so many things about Scottie Scheffler. One of them is just these stories you hear about his level of competition, no matter what he's doing, or he's playing pickup basketball at LA Fitness, or ping pong with Sam Burns, or pickleball with you and Golden Tate. It's like the guy has to win every single point of every single competition he's playing in, and taken to his actual profession, and this thing that he applies himself so diligently to in terms of details, and I just think it's a guy like that. He has all the ball striking, the technical skills, the intangibles. You have a level of competition, you shore up the one thing that's a weakness, and it's just he feels like it's as close to Tiger as we're going to see for the extended future. So it's pretty wild.
What we talk about, what's in front of Scottie? So things that come to mind. It's like, okay, how many Masters can he win? Like all of these things start to come to mind. Like how many majors can Scottie win? Can he win a Grand Slam? And when you talk about all of these things, then you start to, play around with the idea of how Tiger used to schedule. His schedule it got tighter and tighter and tighter. And I think we're going to start to see Scottie's schedule maybe get a little tighter, probably much closer to maybe how Tiger's schedule used to be, where it was, WGCs, he would play the invitationals and the majors, and he would get there a week early, make sure he's ready to go. And I think the US Open this year at Pinehurst, that's to me, you would think would be a really good fit, but also, it was surprising, when we had our friend on, Keith Stewart earlier this year, he was saying that it wasn't a good fit because it takes away his strength. But I don't know. You see the opposite.
I think, and that's I was going to lead into that sort of look. Like the one criticism I think that if you want to make one of Scottie is that he can be a little bit of a horse for a course. He plays really, if he gets comfortable in a place like he has at Augusta National, like he has a number of other places.
I disagree. With that.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying that that's factual. I'm just saying that is something that's been said in terms of like, if you're looking at his track record, once he gets familiar with the place and he solves it and he figures it out, he's almost unbeatable at that place, right?
Okay. Versus, I see that side of it. But
I'm talking upside.
I don't think he's not a horse for a course guy. He is, I'm good wherever I play guy. I think
100%. I'm just saying he is less beatable, especially at a place like Augusta National where he figures it out.
There you go. Less beatable. That's the word.
He's less beatable there than at a rotating AMX venue sort of place. And I think Keith's point on Pinehurst this year was just that because Scottie wasn't putting poorly at that point, but he wasn't putting as well as he is now. I think he made the putter change a couple of months prior to that. And so that specific setup was everyone had to hit the ball to the same place on the green. So it became in some ways a putting contest. And so it's like if Scottie couldn't go after pins and hit it a little closer than everyone else and have makeable birdie opportunities, then of course his superpower gets negated in some sort of way. And then there, of course, he had a little bit of discomfort in places he ended up off the tee where there was if you hit it in sort of those native areas of the grasses, it was a crapshoot with lies. So I guess I say all that to say maybe part of the way we chart out Scottie's career progression is looking at major venues for the US Open, for the PGA, for the Open Championship, and trying to decide whether some of these places are better fits for his game, better suited to the way he plays than others. And that really kind of maybe helps you say, how many does he end up with?
I hate to transition us off of Scottie because I think this has all been great, but all the things you just talked about majors this year and where we're going, dude, I think JT is going to pick off a major this year. Just think about the venues.
Let's go right there because we have that in the rundown. His game is trending in a big way right now. I think the thing this week, so we could talk about the majors first. I just was going to tee up JT this week in terms of the stats that told a story about the big equipment change he made. And he said this isn't going to be every week. It depends on the venue. I think this week wind was a factor, but he goes from a driver that was 44 and 7/8 inches, not a measurements guy, not a measurements podcast.
Yeah, that's right.
44 7/8 to a 46-inch driver. He
So
led the field
an inch and an eighth longer than his gamer.
Led the field in strokes gained off the tee, gained 1.74 shots, and was second in driving distance, 317 yards and change.
First. He was first.
Was he first? Okay. Maybe
319 is what I got in my notes.
Maybe I had a dated article at that time. Some quotes from JT. He said he's just talking about it's pretty consistently 2 or 3 miles per hour more of ball speed, maybe 10 yards more of carry and 15 total out of that driver. And he said very specific for courses, but gave it a try this week. On Friday, just 2 rounds in, was talking about he was trying to figure out the sort of shot shape, and then he was trying to start left of his window and expecting it to kind of fall right, but instead it was going left. And at that point was talking about having to get the club out in front a little bit more, get on top a little bit more, so we could see that left to right shot shape. So you take this wherever you want to go. We can do the JT Majors discussion now. We can talk about JT's new weapon, but that was a story of his week. And obviously, again, continues to trend, almost wins at the Zozo, is playing really, really good golf right now.
Yes. So the driver was so impressive. And you said that wind was a bit of a factor in why he put the 46-inch driver in play. So Thursday, Friday, hardly any wind, but Saturday it did blow. And him and his caddy, Matt Minister, had 2 drivers in the bag. I didn't know which one they chose. Ended up being the long driver. So it was a kind of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of situation. And drove it really good on Saturday. And then Sunday, there was no, on the range, there was just 1 driver in the bag. I think I'd seen enough of some really good stuff from that driver. But when it comes to Sunday, I think we were hoping for a JT Scottie like duel. And I would say that JT was, I would say his game that day was, from his standards, was probably like a C. He didn't look necessarily, he didn't look like that he wasn't ready to win. I just thought that he had some really unfortunate spots he got left in. Like the chip shot he had on 2 was really awkward. The chip shot on 9 was so awkward. And I'd seen some things on Twitter that said it looks like that JT has like some problems right now with the pitching. Like, and I want those people to know that you guys are really dumb. And so,
well, you said last year, this is a very grainy course.
It's
right?
a nightmare.
Last year, last year was wetter, right? But still a very, very grainy venue.
There are people that are chipping cross-handed on tour because of this place.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, so that tells you right there. I mean, if you're, I wouldn't be, you said this last year with a couple guys who struggled. I think Zalatora struggled last year. I wouldn't be taking stock in how guys are going to pitch the ball on tour based on how they played this week, right?
No, guys are, it's so ridiculously hard. So let's talk about what JT's really good at. Right now, that driver, I think, sets up his game so much. When you now go from being a top 25, top 30 driver as far as distance goes, and you show up to major championships, and now you have a weapon. It's like Rory McIlroy. It sets up your entire game. So JT's iron game, we know how good that is. It's always been elite. His short game's elite. Don't let the stats fool you from the Sunday round. Like, he's going to get plenty of big time shots up and down and chip-ins. All that's going to happen. The big question mark with JT, and it's been his bugaboo, is the putting. Can we get that to a level in which he just needs to marginally improve every day with 1 or 2 putts, and have a day in which everything goes in. So Saturday, all the putts were going in. I would say Thursday, Friday, Sunday, he had 1 or 2 putts that I would say, if he was able to hole, it just completely changes the golf tournament to him, where, instead of like, it's honestly a little bit like Scottie. Like, when JT drives it like that, if he just is in, like, he finished the week 15th out of 20 in putting. If he's just above average putting, that's probably 3 or 4 shots at the end of the week.
No, without a doubt. And I think that we've seen it. You and I talked about it a number of times on this show, where you'll see it in flashes, first round of the Scottish Open, first round of the Open Championship.
That's what you need, though. You need to see the ball go in. And he wasn't having any of those flashes for a while, right?
Without a doubt. And I think Sunday too was, and I think Tiger even said this on the broadcast, he was hitting a lot of those approach shots long. That was, of course, the story on 16 where Scottie sort of reversed it a little bit. Was that a wind thing or what do you chalk that up to?
He got a wind switch on the par 3/5. For sure had a wind switch there. I would say didn't really hit a great wedge shot at 6. But then he had a couple other ones too. It's a tough wind out there. These are difficult shots. It's not an easy golf course. Scottie Scheffler made it look really easy. He had the best round by 4 shots that day. Like, come on, dude. Like when you show up that day, you just hope that as a player, it's like, all right, you just hope that Scottie doesn't make the putts that day. And if he doesn't, he shoots 68 and you try to go shoot 67, 66 and go win the golf tournament. Listen, you can't do anything when he goes out. Plays bogey-free golf and shoots 63 and has the best round of the course by 4 shots.
I mean, it's good luck with that. I mean, especially playing against that guy right now. So let's talk JT Majors then. So, do you have one more item? Okay,
that's where we were going. That's where we were going.
So Quail, obviously, he likes that place. Quail sets up nice for him. I maybe that's a little JT Rory showdown at the PGA. I'd be very intrigued by that.
He putts those greens really well. Just think about, the PGA Championship, the President's Cup, the amount of times he's played the Wells Fargo and played well. So that one, you just have to assume he's going to have a really nice week. But the other ones that come to mind are Oakmont's a big ballpark that I feel like driver really does set up, for guys that aren't worried about hitting it out of play. It's like I can get up there and just wail on it. Which you have to do that. You still got to hit it really straight, but still, if JT has it turned on that week, sets up the whole game out there. And then Portrush,
I think if I have this correct, he recently went on a scouting trip to Ireland this summer with some people who might be here on this podcast.
we didn't get a Portrush though.
But just getting the climate, the general feel for the Irish golfing landscape, right? You got to. I mean, listen, if he wins, he's got to give you a little bit of credit there. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. Well, I know he loves links golf. He loves playing in wind. So I think that week in particular is one that he has found the open golf to be some of his favorite golf style of golf that he likes to play. So you have an open championship in a venue that he really, really enjoys. Then you have Quail Hollow, loves that golf course, has already won a major there. You have Augusta, which should fit his game perfectly. I think that's much more about the putting that week than anything, is just being really good inside of 10 feet. And then Oakmont, I think, let's look at the last U.S. Open that was out there. You have to put the ball in the fairway, but if you're driving it long and straight like Dustin Johnson did, I mean, you can go out and blitz the place. So it's a big major year for JT, and I think we all feel like he's been trending towards being a consistent elite player. Right? We talk about him like he is an elite player because his resume says he is. He's a 15-time PGA Tour winner, 2-time major winner. That's a Hall of Fame record, and he's still in his prime. So I think we always have to talk about him like he is an elite player. But the last couple of years, we're like, man, we barely touch on JT, and I feel like now we want it so bad for him to like get over the hump and just have that run of golf that's like, just final groups, like just that, that's the problem. Like when you go up against Scottie, you know what the standard of excellence is, and you got to go and do it. You got to go and beat the guy. It's hard to do.
I'm going to zag a little bit here. I'm predicting some nasty March Florida weather that JT wins the Players. I'm going 2025 Players. JT there. I just can't get over it. I think it was 2022, that one round he played in horrific weather, and that 5-wood he hit into 18. It's one of my favorite shots that I've ever seen on tour.
Players is the hardest week, I think it's the hardest tournament to predict how somebody's going to do, because it is all about form. You either have it or you don't. And you can't fake your way around that golf course. And when you have it, it's easy. But when you don't, it's like, get me off of this place. This is my nightmare.
Yeah. We're also in a really tough heartstrings game for dads, because Molly recently born. We're on the cusp of JT's first win as a dad. Scottie wins and Bennett's there. And, last time Meredith said, oh, I was carrying you around on my stomach last time when you won and now you're here. And it's just, it's tough you want all the dads to win. You want all the kids to be able to celebrate. And so congrats to Bennett. Yet another trophy for Bennett's cabinet. Molly, you'll get one soon. Okay.
How many wins does Bennett have at this point?
I think he has 5 wins. I think it was Claire Rogers tweeted that. I think it was 5.
He got over the hump. He got over the hump.
Yeah, he's slightly trailing Ted Scott on earnings that are going into his college bank account fund. So congrats to Scottie. Congrats to Bennett.
Yeah, great hero, man. And just I loved being in the booth for the week. It was so fun to like having just 20 guys to cover. Like you talk to everybody, like in the field. Like I go to the range. You talk to everybody, and it was a really fun week to just get some insight, like who's tinkering. Like I know who's got the prototype drivers. I know who's got the trying to putter out. It was fun to get that insight where people are trying things. Most of the time during the year, people are like ramped up. They're serious. Like this week, they're like, we're chilling, like we're working, but like we're trying things out. We're like willing to chat. So I enjoyed that from my perspective too.
Well, you mentioned the booth, and we couldn't leave the hero without doing a formal dive into being in the booth with Tiger Woods tournament host and Dan Hicks asking about a potential happy hour appearance. And you'll notice Tiger did not give a hard no.
He didn't.
There wasn't a full commit, but there wasn't a no. So the door's open. I just want to know why Dan Hicks, friend of the pod, didn't also sneak in a little Smylie show ask there as well.
Yeah.
So come on, Dan.
I was thinking about this earlier. I was like, why didn't I just hand Tiger like a handwritten like note letter asking him to join us on a guest of the Smylie show? And he could have not read it, or he could have said, no thanks. But that was a no brainer. That would have stupid. Instead of having him sign a Masters flag, I should have handed him a Smylie show letter, right? Like that was dumb.
Just like the one of the Augusta National Masters invitations, like the formal, the printing, the stamping on the card. Wait, did you actually have him sign a Masters flag?
No, I didn't.
No, I was gonna say that'd be.
Why would you? Were you mad I didn't get you one?
Well, I wouldn't have hated it, but I'm just curious. That'd be such a great move. Just like bring 5 flags up into the booth or whatever it is. Like, hey, could you just Sharpie these real quick?
I think he did sign something. I don't know who it was for in there though.
So good. The one thing that I just thought was interesting, because we've been nerding out on the show here on the swing and different technical parts of the game, and by the way, like, super cool to see the response that you all have provided for that James Seekman short game video. It's clear that people are craving the instructional content. It's really cool seeing how well that's done on YouTube. And so along those types of lines, Tiger was asked about, he was shown that side by side of Scottie and JT and the way they're using those sort of ground forces, and talking about how early in his career, there was the reverse C, there's a K, then the C, and he had a lot of kind of baseball in him when he was trying to use that ground to get that sort of speed and power. Talk a little bit about that type of move in the swing, the way JT uses it, and just hearing Tiger's reflection on it, because I thought that was really cool.
I thought what the cool thing was that Tiger said that I was one of the few guys that did that back then, and it's a reason. Yeah. There's a reason why Augusta National had to, get longer. They had to Tiger proof the golf courses, because he was one of the few guys that brought an athletic, move to the game, in which there was violence when he hit that golf ball, right? And he knew how to get all the power out of it. He had the quick twitch muscles and the overall just athleticism. So you see everybody on tour try to train this. Some guys have speed. They don't have to try to train, do all these swing speed training. Like JT said beginning of the week, he doesn't have some program. He just tries to hit 10 balls every 2 weeks or 20 balls every 2 weeks as hard as he can, and that's his swing training. And he said over time, him and his trainer Colby Touye, who we've had on this podcast, a great episode. If you want to go look that up, if you're trying to figure out how to get in the gym for this New Year's resolution coming up.
Stable,
so
baby.
Check that out. It was about this time last year we had him, right? Like
it was.
Yeah.
It was. It was a little like a New Year's resolution type scenario.
Yeah.
Get you back in the gym.
Yeah.
In fact, I should probably do a little bit of that. I need to go down. I need to see somebody. It's rough right here. I've got some weights collecting dust in my garage.
Are you gonna get the Peloton back on or no?
Yeah, that's also collecting dust. I paused my subscription.
Okay.
It's a tough scene.
That's where you have to get back involved. I think you got to get the subscription back going, and they have like other things on there too, which is cool. Like I'll do their core stuff, like their meditation stuff. Obviously the cycling. That's nice on the road when Pelotons are in hotel rooms or hotel gyms. So you can
maybe we should start a little Smylie Show Peloton group.
Yeah,
you could show the little hashtag.
Yeah, there you go.
Little Smylie Show action. Maybe that's how I'll motivate myself. We'll have accountability partners. Everyone can be like, Charlie, get your fat ass off the sofa and go hop on that bike, because
we could do like
it's a tough scene.
Do you know what Whole30? Are you familiar with?
Yes.
It? We could kind of do our own workshopped Whole30, if you will.
Oh, I like this.
You know what I mean? Like some mix between Whole30 and Hard 75, like take the best of both and then like also golfify it a little bit or datify it almost or podcastify it, whatever.
Podcastify it. This is, we should do like a dry January Whole30 combo with a little Peloton hashtag action. Look where this is. I guess you're listening to this on December 10th.
Can I start after I leave Hawaii?
Oh, it's true.
That's fair. Hard not to do a Mai Tai. If you just seems like
I'd be Mai Taiing it. We'll do like a mild 15 until you leave Hawaii.
When I get back,
do like a hard 30.
But then I'm going to Phoenix, and then like that's Bird's Nest week. So
yeah, that's tough. We could do like we could mix in little weeks.
Yeah.
We're all living on the golf calendar these days. Everyone out there, no one's going to be sitting on the couch watching the Phoenix Open, not cracking open a beer. All right. And you might be at home watching the Century and mixing a little Mai Tai up. So you indulge in that as Smylie would, and we'll mix in some fitness and dry periods in between there. This is perfect.
Yes.
We'll workshop this offline. We'll bring something to the next podcast. In the spirit of that, we're kind of did a nice little deep dive on the golf. Now it's time for a little dessert, because you and I both big college football fans, and I think we need to talk about the CFP bracket, the controversy surrounding that. But we kind of were on the first trend here, thanks to some Inside Carolina message boards. We were one of the first to put the Bill Belichick UNC ties out into the world, and here it is. It's a full-blown thing.
How badly do you not want it to happen? Are you in now? Are you in now?
I go back and forth. Because at first it's like, what could be dumber than replacing a 73-year-old coach with a 72-year-old coach who's notoriously is not very personable, only wants to do X's and O's, has no experience managing NIL, revenue sharing, anything like that. I was a hard out on it. But I'm committed to UNC football being a circus at this point. I'm in it for the entertainment value. And he went on the Pat McAfee show today, was talking about creating a college program that is entirely designed to get players to the NFL. And it's set up like an NFL program. Everything's strength training, conditioning, nutrition, everything's set up like it's an NFL team. And then I'm starting like, wait a second, I'm starting to buy this a little bit. I'm starting to, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, I'm drinking the Bill Belichick Kool-Aid. I think that if done correctly, this could be phenomenal, and we would undoubtedly win a national championship. I have no doubt in my mind. Done poorly, we're on the hook for like a massive double buyout for like Bill Belichick, his son, all of his friends, and the program gets cratered because we're on the hook for like 50 million to 18 different people for the next 10 years. And we're just like a basement dweller and the skeleton of the ACC for life. So it's a real high risk, high reward thing. And also, if you really want to go deep dive, like the chaos behind the scenes, the dysfunction is off the charts. Like the board of trustees, the head chair John Pryor, I think his name is, hates our AD, Bubba Cunningham. There's like a public war of words. The Chancellor, Lee Roberts, is trying to kind of like diffuse all the tension. It's a big mess. But if it does end up with Bill Belichick as our head coach, I'm here for it. I'm there. Walker and I are parked in the blue zone next year with our Chapel Bill shirts on, waving the towels, ready to go for the heels.
I have a question. Is Bill Belichick's girlfriend right now? Is she like in school in North Carolina, or is she a grad student, or like is there a tie there?
I think we're looking into if her credits transfer. I think most of them will. So she can finish her degree there. I mean, listen, I'm like, if she's the first lady of Carolina football, sign me up. Like, let's get her like one of those V Stiviano visors that's like Carolina blue see-through. Let's just lean all the way in on it, man. I am here for a big Carolina blue clown nose on our program, a circus car.
Did y'all make a bowl? Did y'all make a bowl?
We did. We're playing in the Fenway Bowl.
Not the Duke's Mayo Bowl. Didn't have that
Duke's Mayo.
Not a good enough season.
Not a good enough season to make Duke's Mayo. In fact, my wife's alma mater, Virginia Tech's in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. We unfortunately will be just getting home from Florida and not making the trip to Charlotte for that.
We are a Duke's Mayo program at LSU. So,
and I'd say too that Mac's not coaching the bowl game. So if Mac had coached the bowl game,
who cares about bowl games? They're so stupid now.
Nobody cares now.
It's everybody. We're gonna have 30 guys that transfer. It's just, and other guys that just decide to sit. It's just gonna be third stringers going against each other.
So let's talk playoff here. Like, you're an SEC guy, you're an LSU guy, but obviously not a Bama guy.
It was a weird year.
Where do you stand on SMU versus Bama making the playoff?
I stand on that. If you have to play the conference championship game, like, you shouldn't be penalized for losing that game. That's where I stand on it, because
Agreed.
I think that that shouldn't change, that other teams aren't playing that week and then you are playing and you lose. And if you're just going by the amount of losses in the year, that makes sense. But I if there was a year that, it just seemed like it didn't make any sense at all to me, like why Alabama, Ole Miss, or South Carolina. Like, I know South Carolina lost to Alabama and Ole Miss, but like I'm the losses that Alabama and Ole Miss had were just so bad. Like, you can't lose to the bottom of the barrel of the SEC and then expect to just like get a pick for it. But I don't think any of those teams were deserving to get in. Like, how would SMU, how would Boise State, how would Indiana do in the SEC? I don't know. Like, history would tell you they wouldn't do well. But I also think it's been a down year in the SEC, in that for whatever reason, this college football year, I don't think there's any elite teams. And I think, like Greg McElroy kind of said in our podcast that we had him on, that the lack of concentration of these teams is going to be something that you can continue to see with just the way they're being coached now.
Did you see Bama's athletic director put out like a statement?
He got community noted, didn't he?
He got community noted. As he basically said, we thought we were deserving, and we're really going to have to look at the strength of we're going to have to evaluate the strength of our non-conference schedule and maybe make some changes there. And the community note was to the effect of, like, they played one of the softest non-conference schedules of any team in America, and they lost to a 6-win Oklahoma and a 6-win Vanderbilt team. And so maybe clean up your own house, clean up your own affairs.
How does community notes how does it
so savage?
How does it get to a point where it's a community note?
I don't know. I like to think it's like just a collection of like, comedy writers that are just like, oh, we're about to zing this guy so hard. Let's write up a real formal community note. Yeah, that was so good. I mean, it's just, and I think that's the funny thing about this, is that every time before there wasn't a playoff, and then it was like, oh, we're going to go to a 14 playoff, and that's going to solve all the problems. We're going to get then there's always a debate about 4 versus 5 or 4 versus 6 or whatever. And then you go to 12 teams, and now it's debated 12 versus 13, 12 versus 14. There's always going to be controversy, but I would strongly suggest, you'd like to make the playoff, don't lose 3 games and don't make 2 of them losses to terrible SEC teams. That's kind of.
I'm normally like a big SEC guy and all this, and I was like, man, I don't know how good SMU is, but I also just felt like they got it right. But I just think it's a gross playoff. Like I think 3 of the games, like I wouldn't even watch on a week 2.
I'll say this is like there have been some suggestions like they should be reseeding after each round, because if you look at Oregon as the number 1 overall seed,
they need to do away with the automatic buys, man. Like I think it should be just 1 to 12. Like rank the teams and then do 1 to 12 that way, and then also how the NFL model, like you're about to say, is if you're playing if it's the 6-11 and let's say the 11 seed wins or the 6 whatever it is, like the number 1 team should always play the worst team still available, like the NFL model.
You can't do 1 to 12, right? Because the numbers don't work there. I mean, if you had 16 teams, it would work. But with 12, you end up with 6 winners, and then you have.
Oh, you're saying the automatic buy? Like, oh, I see what you're saying.
Well, I'm saying you couldn't do no buy, because then you'd have 12 to 6, 6 to 3, and then you'd have an odd team out there. So I understand that. Well, I don't love the conference championship.
That's what I meant to say. I'm sorry. I that's why I'm not a college football analyst, right?
Among many others.
Totally meant to say like the conference champions shouldn't get the buys. It should be the best 4 teams get the buys. That is what I meant to say. I'm just a college football fan, barely an analyst, I guess.
With all due respect to like a Boise State or Arizona State, the fact that they're getting buys against some of these other teams, a little bit weird.
Arizona State and Boise State getting a buy, no, thank you.
But I will say though, like I just think because Oregon's got Clemson, Texas, Arizona State, Tennessee, and Ohio State on their side of the bracket as the 1 seed, whereas Georgia, who lost multiple times, they have SMU, Penn State, Boise State, Indiana, Notre Dame. I mean,
Oregon should be playing the worst seed that makes it through
every single time.
If a 12 seed wins in the 12-5, they would play the 12 seed. That's how it should go, I think.
I'd go one step further with all this stuff. I would say, okay, the first round of slated teams wins. Oregon, you get to pick your opponent. You get to draft, you get to pick whoever you want to play. Because I'm looking at Clemson as a 12 seed who's getting hot right now. And I'm looking at some of these other teams. And if Clemson and SMU both made it through, or Indiana, I might take someone who's not Clemson. and then you a double effect here. One, you give the highest overall seed.
It's good TV too. Like them
exactly.
Picking.
Now that's bulletin board material. Oh, they want to play. They want to play us. I think we're the worst team. All right, we're gonna go out and mop them. So anyway, those are my fixes CFP playoffs. I do think I'm SMU here, and I do want Bill Belichick as our coach. So I think. Oh, and we have one last piece of breaking show related news. We have a winner for our pick'em.
Oh, we do. Was it me?
It was Lee Gerhardt.
All right.
Who was on an absolute heater this year. In fact, I think he got 99.6% of his picks correct. I almost feel like somehow he cheated the system. I don't know how he did this.
Wait,
I got a text from Brentley Romine. A couple weeks ago who said, "How about that dude in your college pick'em league that's up 30 units?" I was like, "What?" I had no idea until you mentioned this and went and looked. This guy went on an absolute heater. Lee, good picking. Or congrats on
Are you able to pull up the stats on this? I don't believe.
Yeah.
No person can guess every game right.
I mean, we could go week by week. I mean, he only
Did he get the sports almanac from Back to the Future? Like, what do we got right now?
It was a very maybe the percentage. Okay, I should say
he's in the 99th percentile, maybe
99.6 percentile. I'm sorry, I got it wrong.
What?
He was 81 and 49, 99.6 percentile, and I think he didn't even pick week 1 because we missed week 1. He was 99.6 with no losses week 1.
That's really impressive. All right,
so Lee, reach out.
I hope you live in Birmingham.
We haven't figured out the mechanics of how you're going to play golf with Smylie, but if we can make it work, come on down.
Yeah.
So congrats to Lee.
Come on, Lee. Lee. Rush hour.
Take it to the house. Let's do a Rush Hour rewatch at some point in time. That's a perfect way to wrap up the show. I don't have anything else, Smylie. Do you have any final thoughts other than quoting Rush Hour?
Yeah, I got nothing. I guess it's Grant Thornton week. We have Jessica Korda coming on the show this week. First female professional golfer coming on the show, and she was great. I think it's a really unique perspective that she has, being a player, but also doing a little bit of media stuff, and then momming her family, obviously with Nelly, her brother Sebastian being a killer tennis player, and then her parents being professional tennis players, and then Team Mom. This is a dad pod, but we're welcoming the motherhood into the pod.
Yes,
we need that too.
we need some mothers on this pod. We need to balance it out a little bit. But no, really, really cool conversation with Jess that we're looking forward to dropping on Wednesday. And then I
thought we dropped it Thursday.
Thursday. Good. Thank you for that.
Live producing.
Yeah, live producing. It's been a long week.
Yeah, I know. We did pretty good, all things considered. It's been a travel day for you, a get everything in order day for me. Now, do some records for the next week, and then I got my fitting on Wednesday that I can't wait to leave with confidence of that I'm going to turn pro again, only to be disappointed in the long term. But hey, I can't wait. You can't beat that high.
We're going to debut the Butch Mechanics on Saturday for the co-ed Donner and Blitzen tournament at Hope Valley. So hopefully have some trophies next time we're talking to you on the show.
All right, buddy. Let's do it.
Appreciate y'all watching and listening. As always, looking forward to Jess on Thursday, of course, and then getting close to the end of the year with some fun little TGL special coming the following week. So look forward to all that. We'll talk to you right back here very soon.
I listen to this podcast. It's really cool. And
all of our local fans and subscribers, but make sure you like and subscribe.
It's cool to see what you guys are doing. I know golf fans appreciate it, but we do too. So please keep it up.
For all the good people at YouTube, like and subscribe.
You guys have some good takes, so I'm happy to come on and shoot the